Since ancient times, women have been the epicenter of their villages and communities around the world, and as such, have been gathering in council to discuss topics relevant to them. Here, we are masterminding and exploring these topics in a modern way with entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, and just overall good eggs, pun intended. This is The Council. So today is the first episode of The Council, my new podcast. And I got to interview my really good friend from college, Taylor, and she has a blog called So Celiac. And not only does she, this blog basically talks about celiac, which is an immune disease where people can't eat gluten because it will damage their small intestine. It's like very, very dangerous for them. But I talked to her a little bit about that, but mainly we talk about actually just the topic of growth in general. We both are in a really big season of growth, and just talking about the differences between changing and growing, or the relationship between the two, as well as how social media can affect that today, how this comes up in relationships. We kind of cover all the bases and then some, and we have a little fun while we do it. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you for your patience with working through our first time, some of the technical kinks. So yeah, thank you in advance and hope you enjoy. Okay, so hi everybody. I'm your host, Jenna Stenger, and today's guest, and I kind of joke, I say like our high priestess of today, since it is after all the council, is Taylor Thompson-Poulton, and she has a blog called So Celiac that is focused on creating recipes that are gluten-free. Oftentimes they're vegan friendly, and she just really shares her story about what it's like to have celiac and fun ways that you can dress up your favorite meals and try new things with being gluten-free and everything. So yeah, that's our girl. Yeah. We also went to college together, and she was kind enough to help me with this really ratchet first podcast episode setup I have going on here. Clearly, I forgot that the other person needs a microphone, so we're sharing one.
It works.
It works. Technically, I can see us picking up our volume, so I think we're fine.
We're good.
Yeah. So Taylor and I, like I said, we're friends from college. And yeah, buds. And we really were just talking the other day about like a lot of the growth that we've had. Like I feel like the years after college are really formative, and you kind of start to develop like the person you're going to be for the rest of your life in a way. Yeah. Obviously there's always changing in that.
There's growth in every season.
Yeah, but there's just like a lot of foundations that we lay and a lot of choices we make for those foundations. So what I really wanted to talk about today was like how I know for you and I both have had a really big like season of growing.
Right. And
just like really choosing it. So for you, like today, I just want to talk about just growth in general. Like what has, just from a high level, like what does growth mean to you for starters?
Wow. Well, thanks for having me on this.
Yeah.
First guest, we kind of get to break it in.
I know, we're definitely working the kinks out.
I love being part of someone's like first steps.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I mean, you helped me, like you gave me the motivation to start So Celiac, so it only makes sense to like
we
keep it going.
Women helping women.
Babe support babes.
I love that. That's so cute. I'm holding my wine glass up here. Like, I'm like,
well, at first I
don't know what to do with my hands.
Like, I'm a hand talker, so
this is my microphone. So, anyways.
Man, what does growth mean? I feel like it's multi-dimensional because as humans we're multi-dimensional, and growth can mean so many things in different seasons. So. I don't know, that's a really good question.
I know, it's kind of loaded. But just like for you in your life, like what does growth like kind of look like? What does it mean for you?
I think it's truly like looking inwards at yourself and making sure that the growth that you're doing is projecting you forward in your purpose. Because like you talk about like these are maybe some of our most formative years. I feel like when you leave high school and you go to college, those are seasons of growth too, because you're leaving behind like child adolescent type of person, and then when you go to college it's more I have all this freedom and I can do these things I wasn't able to do under my parents' roof. And I think you're also adjusting to the friends that you make in college. So you're not technically like growing as like yourself independently, you're growing within the community you make in college, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
It's like you're growing, like you're getting this freedom, you can choose if you can go to classes or not,
Yeah.
you're choosing to hang out with that person or not, you're choosing to go drink that drink or not drink that drink, you know what I mean? So college is kind of, I would like to say, you do learn a lot about yourself, but when you leave college, it's like another whole season of growth, because you technically are no longer that person you were in college. Like, it's a big difference stepping outside of college and stepping into what we call the real world or being an adult.
Yeah, adulting.
I'm still surprised I'm adulting. I'm almost 28 and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I know, I understand.
But I think, like, now growth for me is, am I stepping into my purpose? So, like, I know, like, for both of us, we like to help others, we like to lift others up. So is what I'm doing helping me step more into that?
Right.
And do I actually feel good about what I'm doing? Like, you know, when you do things in, like, your soul, you can be like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't feel like I'm truly, like, something feels trapped. And I feel like when you're growing, you kind of get that release.
Yeah, that's it's so funny. You were saying something like about how you're kind of like letting go of a lot of stuff, like when you're like in college or whatnot, like letting go of those years and everything.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I feel like a lot of people mistake like changing with growing. I think just because things are changing doesn't actually mean you're growing.
Right.
And I also think, for me, I think of growth as like a lot of times, like, what's the next step? Like, what's coming up next? It's like, it's very like future oriented in my mind, when actually I think a lot of growth actually happens by releasing past. And like, that's where those big breakthroughs kind of come through.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting. So for you specifically, like, what's kind of been like, how has this big period of growth like really come up for you in your life? Like, what was the catalyst?
Honestly, it was just recognizing that I wasn't serving myself. So I feel like, especially for me, I do a lot of things to serve other people. Like, I enjoy serving others, but then I noticed I wasn't filling my own cup. So, like, you can fill other people's cups all you want, but are you filling your cup? Are you reaching where you need to go as a human?
Totally.
And at first, I struggled with being selfish. Because there's a difference between being, like, selfish in a good way and just selfish and you're not a good person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I will give until I possibly can, but then I forget to give to myself. So, like, what this growth has looked like is taking charge of my physical health and making sure I schedule time for me to go to the gym. Taking care of my health in general, celiac disease. Yeah, I was eating gluten-free, but, like, I wasn't going an extra mile to find out what else was causing some of the issues. So, like, working with an integrative health practitioner, that's growth. I'm challenging my mind to think about things that maybe the health industry or other people have told me, or even stuff like my parents have told me when I was growing up, like, this food is bad for you, this food is good for you, and, like, now I'm learning for myself.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about taking control and, like, realizing, like, the only person that's going to propel me forward is myself, and, like, it's being uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable to grow.
Yeah.
So, like you were saying, there's a difference between changing and growing. I feel like changes is, like, when you're, like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. Like, that's a change.
Yeah.
Growing is truly, like, shedding and a layer of you that is kept in the past and stepping into a new skin, so to speak.
And it's like the why and the intention behind the change.
Yes.
It's like, if you're just, otherwise it's just going through the motions.
Right.
And and I think within change, people can actually do the opposite of grow, which
you can take steps.
I don't know what that would be,
back.
but die. I don't know. Okay, I don't die.
Maybe not die. That's a little
dramatic. Dun dun dun.
We're actually telling you guys, if you change and you grow, you're dead.
You're dead. You're dead. No, but like, I think a lot of in change, people get like really worked up. They get
it's because it's uncomfortable.
It's super uncomfortable,
and people don't understand it all the time.
Right. Yes, that's exactly it. And instead of like embracing it and stepping into it and taking ownership,
you hide.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm hiding out. I'm gonna have analysis paralysis.
Yep.
Like, and I have done this so many times. I can't even tell you. I mean, shoot, with even starting this podcast, I was like, this is something I wanted to do for since I was a freshman in college, and I've created a million reasons not to do it when there was so many reasons to.
Imposter syndrome.
And yes, totally imposter syndrome. And I feel like we as women, like, a lot of times we have that really strongly because we've been kind of like told these are the different, I mean, it's obviously the stereotypes are like shedding a little bit now, but like we've been told these are the things that we could do or that we're good at. things like that. And so it's like, I think it's a combination of like the imposter syndrome, like who am I to go do this thing?
Like there's already so many podcasts, or like there's already so many blogs.
Yeah.
But like if you think about it, if it helps one person,
totally,
you're making a difference. It only takes one person to make a difference in someone's life. And think about it, if like, this is gonna sound so cheesy because we talked about Rachel Hollis in the beginning, but like, what if Rachel Hollis didn't write her book?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Or what if she didn't start a company?
Yeah.
After all the other things that she had to go through to get there, like it. Yes, there may be so many of similar things, but there's only one you, and there's
totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's like if you listen to that little voice in your head that's telling you can't do it, or you can't handle the change or anything, you'll never grow. You'll never really like achieve or like be. Not that you won't achieve, but you won't be fulfilled in those like changes and achievements because there's always someone telling you like you don't deserve this.
Right. Sorry about the airplane. We're right by McDill, so that could be it, and the Tampa airport.
Yes. No, it's we're gonna get that just to be. Anywho, okay, so just continuing on like the topic of growth, how has it been? Because doing all of the things for you, it sounds like a lot of it is like health related. Yeah. Like that's been like it's the crux of it.
It's mentally too.
Yeah.
I think growth also takes a mental fitness or finesse to get you through. Because like you were talking about, all of us have that voice in our head, and we can decide to turn it all the way up and keep you from changing or keep you from stepping into things you want to do. Or you can turn it down and be like, no, voice, like you're not going to control what I want to go do.
Yeah, you're not taking like my power.
Yeah, right. And like the voice can honestly just be your anxiety. And it can be your fear, and it can be whatever, but it can also be someone else from, maybe someone when you were little told you you're not good enough. Totally. And that voice is totally going to come back and be like, you're not good enough. Like, why are you trying to do that?
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, it's hard for me to encompass what growth, because I have grown so much this year. Like, I look back at myself a year ago, and I'm like, who was I?
Yeah.
In a good way. And I don't know if you're going to ask this, but there's been a lot of struggles with growing, and I think that's the hardest part is I don't want to say it's negative, because it's not negative.
It's the growing pains.
It's the growing pains.
Totally. What was that like for you? Like, what was that? Okay. Yeah, so talking about growing pains, what were those for you this past year?
Again, the voice. The voice is, I feel like you are your own worst critic, so I think your voice comes in. And there's also fear of those around you aren't going to accept your growth. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, for me, I'm engaged. So worrying that maybe I might change or grow into someone that my fiance might not love anymore, which when you think about it is kind of insane and crazy, but like you just never know.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, like I've actually had that experience. I have a kind of a thing of being in relationships where I feel like the other person, they're scared of my growth, like actually vocalize that to me.
They're intimidated by it.
Yeah, in a way. But not in like a I don't want you to shine way, but more of a, well, if you're shining, like I can't shine too, or what if I'm not also growing as fast as you? And like there's a lot of fear around it.
Okay.
So it's been very interesting for me. I mean, I just for me realized that I get to like be with people or someone that is also like all about growth, because like for me that's what's super fulfilling in my life to do.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of, but I think, I mean, you have a great, like you guys have a great relationship.
Right.
But it does come up. Like it's insane, but like there's and that's like the evidence that kind of backs you up, saying like you're like collecting evidence. You're like, oh, I can't grow because no one's gonna be able to like manage that. But for you, clearly that's
and like it's happened. Like my fiance is great. Like I've been like, hey, like has my growth like made you not love me? And he was like, you're silly. Like I think what you're doing is great. Like I support you 100%. And not everyone unfortunately has that. But I think again, you have to find someone that I don't know if intimidated is the right word, but Jill, I don't know the right adjective to use, because some people are perfectly okay where they are. Yeah. And maybe it's that fear. They don't want to grow because they've been denied, or maybe they tried to grow and it came back in their face. They didn't get where they wanted instantly, because right now, instant gratification, which growth and I'll stick with growth. Growth, one, is not instant, and it's not a straight line, and it's not clear cut and simple. It is messy, uncomfortable.
Oh, it's messy as
and
hell.
Sometimes really freaking scary.
Yeah.
But like, thank goodness that, and like my family has been supportive, which I mean, I like slowly vocalize things, because I mean, the people around you want to support you, because then that's more affirmation that you're doing the right thing.
Right.
But I think you just have to accept that not everyone's going to understand it, whether they aren't in a spot where they're ready to change or grow. Maybe they don't truly understand why you're doing something. Like with celiac disease and like my protocol, there's some people that are in circles, whether it's my inner circle, outer circle, that don't understand why I'm doing things. and that's because they're not walking it, which is totally fine. I've come to understand that not everyone's gonna understand, and you gotta be okay with it.
Right.
But I mean, the growing pain too is also like almost mourning your old self.
Totally.
I don't think people sit in the uncomfortableness of...
Yes, that is actually a huge part of it, is I feel like you do have to mourn a little bit of the parts of yourself that are damn planes. Stop flying, people.
Stop coming to visit.
Stop coming to visit, go back. But no, I think a lot of it is actually, like, I lost my train of thought for a second.
Sitting in the uncomfortableness, mourning your own you.
Yes, and it's also like realizing that coming to terms with you have to like let go of relationships. Like I have let go of so many relationships this past year, especially.
We were talking about friends earlier, and like,
oh my gosh, yes.
friends.
Yes, and sometimes it's like it's necessary. Like there's a lot of times in my life where I've lost like a really good, friend or something. Not that that always has to be the case, but because their ideals and their vision was not aligning with mine,
right,
and what was important to me. And it's something that is really hard and is sad. I'm not gonna we don't need to sugarcoat it.
No, it's sad.
It's sad. It sucks.
It hurts.
It does. It's like you're going through a breakup, even with friends and things.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's actually worse, I think. But
yeah,
at the same time, like the end game is for both of you to like go down the line of path that's like most aligned with your vision. And if it's not together, then so be it.
And if some of my like friends that I've made recently over the last year are listening, they're gonna laugh when they hear this. But I always tell people when they're struggling, when they're going through seasons where they're starting to lose friends that have been in their life, whether it be for a year, 10 years, their entire life, is that I truly believe that everyone comes into your life for either a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yes.
Everyone you cross paths with is meant to teach you something, and they're only supposed to be in your life to teach you that something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's your reason. A season is, maybe I moved here and I made a friend and they just moved here, so we're kind of acclimating together, but then they make another friend group and I make another friend group, and then we go our separate ways. And then a lifetime, even if someone's in your life for a lifetime, you're still going to go through those ebbs and flows of like staying on the same path, crossing the same paths, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going different paths. I think I messed that up a little bit, but
I got the gist of what you're saying.
I truly believe that it's people come to your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn how to accept that. And I don't think that when we're taught when we're younger as kids that this happens. Like you're kind of in that for charade of everyone is around forever, and mom and dad's parents, or mom and mom's parents, or dad and dad's parents, they've been friends since they were my age, and no one ever talks about
the friends you lost,
or even like, and I don't mean losing yourself in like a bad sense, like there's a bad way to lose yourself,
sure,
but like, to give you more example, and I'm sure anyone can apply this to their life, but a year ago I was miserable because of my job. I was miserable because my health was still crazy. And then I took that all and put it into my relationship with my fiance, at the time my boyfriend. I was doing that with my family. I was spinning off into my friends, and like, I'm not a negative person. I'm typically overly positive. People are like, do you feel sadness? I'm like, oh, trust me, I feel sadness, but I just choose to pick joy and happiness over the sadness. But like, a year ago, I looked where I am now, I'm like, what was it? And I think, like we've talked about, sitting in uncomfortableness, mourning the old you, but it's also picking the mindset.
Yeah.
Your mind and your heart controls so much that you have to have like a pure heart, and you have to have a pure, positive mindset to be able to grow in a way.
Yeah.
Because if you're negative about it,
totally. Well, I think
what's that gonna do?
I mean, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like every single person on the planet makes every decision based in love or fear.
Oh yeah.
Like it's either or. And I think sometimes there seems like a fine line, but it really is. And I think that's what is the difference between growing and just changing and not having that growth be associated with it. Because, I see so many people who like have this scarcity mindset, and it's like everything is just like there's so much anxiety around everything. And I'm like, unless you have like a chemical imbalance, or there's depression, there's like, mental health issues going on, like, you can choose a different outlook, a different perspective, and it takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight.
Oh yeah, it's an everyday thing. You have to choose that mindset.
It's an every moment thing.
And their growth every single time.
And it takes a long time. Like for me, like, I mean, I've always kind of been the same. I've been like a generally like very positive, upbeat kind of person. However, my entire life I've struggled with anxiety and at times depression. Yeah. And even in those woes, like it took like having real tools and like a toolbox in order to get me to the part where I am now, where I can look at certain situations and have like a positive perspective and be like operating from a place of love at all times. I mean, I do my best.
Right.
I mean, I'm not perfect in that sense at all.
I think people have to remember too that just because you're growing and you're stepping into a new, like, whether it's a new confidence, when you grow, it's. I say I'm on like version 28 of myself. I'm about to turn 28, so like I feel like you come into new versions every year of your life.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do it a little bit more. Maybe I'm on version 50 and I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I always tell people like it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to have a day where you're just meh. Whether it's Mercury retrograde, whatever you want to blame it on.
Oh my god.
Mercury retrograde, or your.
I saw it was Mercury is reverse cowgirling again. Like that is incredible.
Or like you're just PMSing, or you had a bad dream, and like but everyone has bad days. Even the people you see on social media, they have bad days. Again, it's your highlight reel on Instagram or social media. But like you said, like we both have struggled with anxiety in the past, and again, it's understanding that you're gonna look different to the person sitting next to you, and if you're growing, you're more than likely going to be the outlier in your friend group or in the community that you're in. Because again, not everyone grows. Yeah. So like you have to be comfortable with being that outlier. That sounds like a joke. It does. Oh, I saw those two birds, and I was like, oh my god, they're awfully close. I don't have my glasses on.
Like
that's gonna sound so. You're right by McDill and the airport, so you got both going.
It's gonna be glorious.
It's okay.
No, but it's actually what you're saying. Like a little bit, you mentioned the like kind of the comparison game, and that I feel like is such a huge issue that like we're all aware of, right, on social media. Okay,
but are we aware?
So we're aware, but we choose not to like really, I don't know, like check ourselves on it. Like even myself, like. It's so crazy. You see all these people on social media, whether it's like, social media, like the influencers, like the models or whatever it is. I feel like typically it's like some type of like modeling or, looks thing. Obviously there's also like, fashion bloggers, things like that. But all that to be said, it's like, this is a perfectly curated, and to their end, like it should be, because that's like, this is what they do for work.
That's their brand.
But it's like, that's what not only you compare yourself to, like, or I think most people do. I'll say I do.
Oh, I do.
I compare myself to that.
I see myself doing it all the time. I'm like, wait, Taylor, like you're unique. Like you were doing this.
Yeah. Like this is your life, but it's also like you're only seeing a tiny, tiny sliver of someone's life, and also, but one of my things is I feel like a lot of like men compare women to this standard now, and like. It's crazy. Like I got a facial the other day, and I was talking to the girls that come in. Yeah. It's like everyone's got the big lips, everyone's got the I don't even know the fillers. And like all this stuff, and you wouldn't even know. Like you wouldn't know unless you saw a before and after picture. But this is like the standard of beauty we're living in, and it's not real. And hey, look, you want to do work? That's totally fine. I don't have a problem with that.
To each their own.
Yeah, it's your body. You do what you want. But
I can smell the pumpkin bread. Sorry.
I can smell the pumpkin bread too. It smells so good. But that being said, I think it creates a false like expectation and reality for other people in the world.
Well, like think about it too, like. And you can totally edit this out if you don't want it on there, but like if you think about like when you see someone's success, you think it's overnight success. Yeah. When you think about like you were talking about men maybe may compare your relationship with them to something they see online.
For sure.
Which isn't fair. That's something that's curated, that's something that's filmed. Right. Versus real life.
Yes.
Are
you talking about porn?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We can talk about porn.
Okay. I didn't know. We can talk about it.
Okay.
But I think it's a fair comparison.
Totally.
And again, like you and I are so big on like empowering other women, lifting other women up, because it is hard. Like even going back to like mental health, like women are, they're already tight. If they're having issues with expressing an emotion or they're feeling anxiety, that means they're crazy, which. That doesn't help with growth or change whatsoever. But when a man experiences emotion, they're wimps or they're pussies.
Yeah,
and
it's so dangerous.
What is going on? And that's why I think people don't talk about growth and they don't talk about the messiness of it because they don't want people to see the weakness of them.
It's the vulnerability.
Or the messiness of it. Like
totally.
Every single human is messy. The most successful person in Hollywood is messy.
Oh yeah.
The highest, maybe the most popular therapist, or even like the people we talked about with books, like they have probably had so much mess to get to where they are, and they still have mess. Just because you get through one mess doesn't mean you're done having messes.
Yeah,
and I think that's something too that people, they think if they reach a certain point, whether it's like a promotion or financial mark, or when they're growing, like, oh well, I did this, so like I'm good.
Yeah.
they don't realize that growth is in every season.
Yeah,
and there's going to be messes that you keep coming. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't really have like that growth without getting your hands dirty.
Yeah. If you don't get your hands dirty, then I'm like, did you really
did
try?
Are you sure? No, that's like for me, like I think the catalyst for a lot of my growth was like I was at a place where also hated my job, did not know what I want to do. Like I'm very much like a go-getter.
Mm-hmm.
And actually in retrospect, I think I knew what I wanted to do, but I was just too
Scared.
afraid to go for it. Yeah, totally.
We've talked about this. We're both kind of like, we're in those pivotal moments where we're like, all right, I'm in my lane a little bit more, that I feel like it's my lane, but like what's next? Like we both know that we're not
like
there.
It's like the fear to leap into it and just like see what the hell happens.
Because you're like, is there? I want a safety net.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But you have to realize there's not always going to be a safety net.
Yeah. No, and that's fine. Like, and I'm also like, what's the worst that could happen? You know? And then also, what's the best thing that could happen? Like, that's what I always tell my friends or family members who like, or like even the students I would coach. Like, when they overanalyze. I'm like,
you paralysis by analysis?
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
But I mean the same thing, yeah.
I couldn't say
crustaceans. It's okay, same thing, same difference.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But no, when I have like students who, they overanalyze, they're in the analysis paralysis phase, and it's like, to them, they think they're being very rational. Right. And I'm like, actually, being rational is not necessarily just weighing like the worst outcomes, it's weighing the entire thing, all of them, the best as well.
Right.
So I always am like, what's the best thing that could happen in this situation?
And that probably surprises them about what they say.
Totally. It's like, oh, I haven't thought about that. And it's like, well, that's a problem. Let's start there.
So one thing, and I talk about this book all the time actually on my most recent post on So Celiac. It's by Amber Ray, and the book is called Choose Wander Over Worry.
Ooh.
And it is literally, I'm probably going to reread it again next year. I read it. It was my second book of this year. And it literally set my soul on fire. It's what made me jump to do that So Celiac. And it made me, so there's like exercises throughout the book that allow you to like address your fear, to maybe address past traumas, and then to pick like your wanders and to put that into place. And it gives you actionable steps on a daily basis.
Yeah.
To like choose wander over worry.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's super important, is having those like actionable, like tangible things you can do, because as much as it is a way of being, like it's not just like you do X, Y, and Z and poof, you're
perfect.
Grown.
You're grown,
whatever it is, or whatever it is. It's literally, it is a way of being that you have to embody.
Right.
However, in order to get to that stage, like it's gonna take those little like choice or action things you get to do.
I always think about a door. So like you have a door that's open for you, right? Mm. It's your choice to walk through it or not, or close the door. Mm. So then what's the next door you're gonna walk through? Like when I'm struggling, I say like, okay, well that door closed. Mm-hmm. So am I just gonna stay in between the doors, or am I gonna walk through the next door?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we get stuck in that in between because we don't know what's behind the next door.
Yeah, you're afraid, that fear of the unknown.
So you might as well step through it.
Yeah.
Welcome it, whether it's mess or not mess.
Totally.
And then, but keep going.
Oh, for sure.
Because I feel like a lot of people, they get stuck. I'm like, well, crap, that door closed.
Oh, it's like debilitating. And for me, like, just sharing, for me, a big personal experience was this past year. Like, I went through, I was going through a breakup, and then also, like, was going to change my job. Like, I was very clear on these things.
A lot going on at once.
It was like nothing was stable. Everything was a moving part.
Juggling a lot.
Yeah, totally. And it all happened, like, in, a month
When
period.
it rains, it pours, man.
Totally. No, it really does.
You're like, what could happen next? And you're like, I shouldn't have asked that question.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The universe is like, well, let me tell you.
Let me show you.
Yeah.
Here you go, Jenna.
No, but it's good because, so anyways, let me rewind. No, you're good. So, I was going through a lot of these like really big changes, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I'm looking for a new job. I currently work remotely, so I can move anywhere, virtually within the U.S.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything like no attachments, people-wise.
Which is nice.
Which is great. Like, I was like, oh, this is really, so I'm like, oh, the world's my oyster. However, it was fucking debilitating.
Because there's so much you're like,
I was drowning in a sea of options, and I could not swim. Like, I was like so debilitated by it that I was so stressed. I was like, where am I going to go? And it's so silly. It's like, the world is your oyster, and you're like, I don't like oysters, I guess. Like, I don't know.
I guess what made you feel like it was debilitating?
Yeah.
Like some people don't even have options. They kind of
totally
just go. So like, what made you like? Just pause that. Brett, I have a question of
yes.
why did you feel like it was debilitating to have any options? Like, was it fear? Was it someone, like, explain, like, the process of what, because you felt a certain way for a certain reason.
Yeah, I think, so I definitely had, like, a perfectionist complex, like, not necessarily, really in my choices. So I was like, am I going to make the right choice? It was like being so afraid that I wasn't going to make the best choice for myself. Not that I'd make a bad one necessarily, but not I was afraid I wouldn't fully take advantage of the opportunity, which is ridiculous.
But whereas, like, so when I say, like for me, like when I talk to my practitioner, I'm like, well, it's not normal. She's like, but normal needs to come under your vocab. What's right for Taylor needs to be in your vocab instead of normal.
Yeah.
So, like, for you, like, were you using, like, what's right for Jenna, or are you saying, like, what's right in regards to, will people accept what I'm doing?
It was both. It was like, for me, I'm like, okay, I know I operate at, like, a very different kind of level of expectations for myself. Like, I have extremely high expectations for myself.
Probably why we get along.
Yeah, totally.
We're like, well, here's this, but I need to be here.
Yeah, totally. So I was really afraid. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna let my own self down, you know? Okay. And it really, for me, it took actually, and it was like, people thought I was crazy. My lease was ending in DC, and I was a week away from that.
You were like selling stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? And I text you, and I'm like, are you moving? You're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well,
where?
Tell me more.
And I was like,
I don't know yet. But I was selling my Jeep. I'm getting rid of
all the things. I literally just was like, all right, detox, bye everything. And so, yeah, no, I was a week away from my lease being up and moving out and moving all my stuff into storage, and I had no idea where I was going to move. I was just like, I don't know. So I booked a bunch of trips. I booked that trip to India for like a month.
Which looked awesome.
It was awesome. It was, that's a whole nother thing. But, yeah, and I just was like, it's going to figure itself out. And that's when this like perfect opportunity down here in Tampa for what I do for a living now arose. And they were like, yeah, you can come down here till January and then work remotely then. So I was like, oh, I've got more time. And it really, like, the serendipity of it is just, it was astounding. But I literally, what it took though was me just letting go and saying, okay, universe, like, you got my back.
So you can't control all of it.
Totally. I was like, I gotta let go of the control. And that's when everything just kind of came together.
That's what people, like, don't understand is that, like, both of us, I think we like to control because we want to make sure that we are the
perfectionist
one,
kind of
like
thing,
dictating it. So if something does go wrong, we can pinpoint where it went wrong, or like if it goes right, we can be like, yeah, it's because I took these steps,
and we can correct it. Like it's like a lot of that like control is like having ownership over it and being able to like redirect the ship if need be.
Right.
But when you don't have that, you're like, oh my god, if everything goes to shit, like what am I gonna do?
Yeah, and that's funny, like, and this is such a weird thing that can't pop in my mind as you said that, but like, you know, like if you're looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend, you're not gonna find a boyfriend or girlfriend.
So story of my life.
It's like when you're least expecting for it to happen, it happens.
So true.
And I think that's just the same with like things that happen in your life. Like I always know like the universe like does have my back. Like the universe, whether you believe in a higher power or not.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel you. What's supposed to happen will happen. And it may not be the way you think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's like, I always hear it's from like different like speakers and authors and things like that. It's like the whole deal with this whole manifestation thing, which has almost become like a buzzword that people use and like kind of actually like take down a lot of levels. It's not actually like manifesting. It's used so casually, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
But, you know, one of the secrets like behind all of that is like, it's almost like you're at a restaurant and like the universe is your waiter and you put your order in. You're not worried. You know your food's coming.
Right.
You're not worried about how it's being prepared, like when it's like
if it's gonna be hot or cold.
Like, well, you know. Well, okay.
Yeah.
But in general, you're like, yeah, okay, I put my order in. It's coming. Like I don't need to worry. And I feel like that's how we need to operate with like the things that we want to manifest in the universe. Yeah.
I like that.
But no, so I'm like, okay, you just gotta detach from it and just like let it come to you.
Now I'm gonna think about that.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that.
I'm gonna text you and be like, hey, I just put an order in. You wanna know what it is?
The universe is gonna be like, order up. Here you go.
Like,
you wanna shake with that?
I'm gonna be like, it didn't come right away. It took about a year to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's what people have to realize too. Like, yeah, maybe you put your order in. But again, like you said, you're not worrying how long it's gonna take. You're not worrying if it's gonna come to you. You do have to. Again, I think it ties back to instant gratification. I mean, we have social media now at the tip of our, and we both grew up when like we didn't have smartphones. We didn't, The internet just came out, and we had the computers that literally was like, bing, and it was connecting to your phone line, and you couldn't be on the phone while on the computer. Like, it's just like
it's so different.
It's so different, but like, the
instant gratification of it. Yeah, no, I know. And I think, like, when you were going back to, like, saying about, like, if you're looking for, like, a significant other, like, you're not gonna really get them if you're like actively just like, because I think it's the energy you're giving out.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, shoot, I have been there.
I think
there's times right now where I'm there and I'm like, Jenny, you need to check yourself because.
Well, if you think about it, like if you go in with that energy and you're like, oh, this guy that I'm talking to, I'm gonna make him my boyfriend, or make that person my girlfriend. Like you're not actually taking time to like actually like drop your walls, listen to that person. Like we were just talking about this. Like you're listening to them, but you're not actually listening to them. Like you're waiting to like set up your next punch. Like,
totally. Yes. Yeah. You're like teeing it up. You're like, how do I come in so I position myself a certain way? Totally. Well, and I think the other thing is like when you're giving off that energy, it's actually, the energy is not just saying like, okay, universe, like I'm ready for somebody. It's actually saying like, I'm not, like it's when it goes too far. Yeah. When you're not just putting your order in, but you're stalking the waiter. like
excuse me, I put it in 36 ago. Why isn't that here?
Yeah, exactly. But I think in general, it's also like you're reaffirming that you're not good enough by yourself. And I think, can all at this point agree that if you, like, to be in a very healthy relationship, both people need to be whole on their own. You shouldn't be completing each other. Complete your fucking self.
Mic drop.
Okay, so thanks again for coming.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
My first episode podcast, my first High Priestess, because there get to be many. There's not just one at the council. So yeah, we're going to go eat pumpkin bread, and it's going to be delicious. And
add some powdered sugar to the top.
Yum, 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 yum. All the things. And yeah, we need to go.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
This is fun.
So follow her at That's So Celiac. Thanks for being a part of the council today. You can share this episode and tag me on Instagram at the DJ Genesis, JENESIS, or on Facebook at the council pod. Make sure to leave a review, and if you'd like to share your takeaways or what you'd like to see next time, you can email us at hello@thecouncilpod.com. See you then.